Okay, Islam Spirit of Noble Jewelry. This is part 3, June 24th, 2026. I am Ron Arrington-Bey as a naturalized Moor who have affirmed to uphold the U.S.A. Constitution of 1787, which includes the 13th Amendment with 20 sections that was ratified November the 18th, 1865, and all four of Abraham Lincoln's proclamations. And in the last video, I was demonstrating what gave President Abraham Lincoln the right to initiate the naturalization or all four of Abraham Lincoln's proclamation, to initiate the proclamations. And I'm going to once again start off again by reading the first paragraph of the initial Emancipation Proclamation. It says, I, Abraham Lincoln, President of the United States of America and Commander in Chief, because he was naturalized and was a true president over the Army and the Navy. The Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy thereof do hereby proclaim and declare that hereafter, as heretofore, the war will be persecuted. The war for the object of practically restoring the constitutional relations between the United States and each of the states and the people thereof, in which states that relations is or may be suspended or disturbed. So when I think of suspension, my thoughts would be states using a color of law. They are not implementing true laws and regulations that are connected to the United States Constitution of 1787. And when I think of disturb is when there may be some form of conflict. So it says also in the initial Emancipation Proclamation, this is what I'm reading from, of September 22nd, 1862. He says restoring. First, he definitely says thereof declare in hereafter and heretofore the war will be persecuted for the object of practically restoring constitutional relations between the United States and each of the states and the people thereof. So when people are outside of constitutional law, that means they have not been naturalized under the true organic Constitution of 1787. So the immigrants that come over here, okay, they go through this procedure of naturalization. But in the naturalization procedure, the United States corporation, or that which has disturbed, I think that could be the right term, I don't think if they are outside of constitutional law, they have the right to suspend. That's the thing. So I would think they disturbed and manipulated the 13th Amendment with 20 sections. That was ratified November 18th, 1865. And this could be the connection to why they would do such things. Because why would naturalization process be what's the word, counterfeit? Why would they go through such measures to do such things with the naturalization process? And I would think the United States government that's naturalized would definitely not want to disturb any form or of the Constitution, especially those that have been naturalized, who have affirmed to uphold or taken an oath to uphold constitutional laws, truly have um, truly respect the bloodshed that has been bled to uphold these laws of freedom. So I think in humility, spirit of noble Joali, I think the main reason for these things, for that to have, why they removed it, not only to demonstrate and confuse um, masses of people about the Constitution and then turn around and putting the 14th Amendment, 15th Amendment in, but also because of what it states. If I can find it, I think this is just a thought. Once again, I am a student and I'm connecting the dots. I think it's because of this section in the 13th Amendment with 20 sections that says, it's in section 19. It says, when all of the several states shall have abolished slavery, then and thereafter slavery or involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, shall never be established or tolerated in any other states or territories of the United States, and they shall be forever free. Freedom. Once again, that spirit of freedom that is demonstrated in the preamble. And in true naturalization, that is what we have affirmed to uphold. I think this and maybe other reasons besides the trickery, because all these are war tactics. So Abraham Lincoln said, I'm persecuting the war. These are war tactics done by invaders who have not been naturalized and who have invaded not only this landmass, but earth, period, to demonstrate or to overcome or destroy, excuse me, gotta be careful, I'm being forced engaged by a mental United States weapon, a mental weapon. That's what AI, humanoid AI, and other lab experiments have been used for over 100 years upon the indigenous on this landmass and many other places on the earth that we didn't know about over 200 years that we had no idea. So nonetheless, to destroy the frequency that exists and that we as humans, man, celestial beings, and other beings that exist can harmonize with in this globe of planet Earth, the celestial orb of planet Earth in the cosmic universe. So in that, so this is the word freedom. All will be free. Territories, United States will be free. Is very important in Section 19 of the 13th Amendment with 20 sections. Is a very important section that The 13th Amendment was ratified by three-fourths of the several states. The 13th Amendment, with two sections, three sections, whatever else they put in, was never ratified. And we were taught and has been demonstrated that the 14th and 15th Amendment, because of the 13th Amendment being ratified in the right manner, does not truly exist. It is an invader. It is a manipulation. So if I'm correct about that, I think I am. But in humility, I'm going to continue. So right now I'm being forced to engage again. So when there is an invasion, let me pause for a moment because I've experienced this before when I start speaking. And I want to stay on that subject. With the immigrants coming over here, okay, first of all, when if you already have before, and because I don't want to just focus on the immigrants coming over here, but I want to demonstrate frequency. So, okay, I want to demonstrate frequency. So, if the word black is adopted, African American, adopted, or when I say adopted or accepted, excuse me, towards to identify a group of people. And constitutional law states that these terms cannot be recognized to identify people who have been naturalized in constitutional law. That means they themselves are in rebellion against the Constitution. They're outside that organic law that corresponds and harmonizes in natural and divine and cosmic laws with the earth. Moors, I remember, and I said this before, when I first started learning from Moors, which I am, started to teach about how the organic constitution corresponds with the chakras in our bodies, the chakras and the energy fields of our bodies. And once you naturalize in these laws, the true constitution and laws of freedom, you will see and feel a change. I felt that change. Naturalization ceremony. I remember my very first one I went to. I was naturalized before I went to one, but then when I came to Maryland, I was able to attend. I cried like a baby. I didn't have enough tissue to hide my tears. It was like, okay, the Moor was singing Allah, and he sung a term that was just so beautiful, not a term, a phrase, giving gratitude to the Most High. Okay, not a term, a phrase. And I just kept crying and crying and crying and crying. To be in the naturalization ceremony, I felt like, because first of all, I started the journey to, to connect and return to my true self when my consciousness changed in 2010. And I knew something changed inside of me. I had no idea what it was. All I could do is know that dream was so real, and something in that woman that came to me woke me up, and I knew that I started to feel things, and my the morality of not causing harm was so high. It was just so high. Anyway, that was a moment. Okay, so my morality of not causing harm was so high. I started to have, I couldn't do certain things. I just couldn't do things that people would possibly normally do. I couldn't do it. And so, I started to, I was remembering so fast of different ancient practices and gods and goddesses because I obviously was very, very old. But I didn't know how old I was. And I didn't even really connect the word old with me. I just knew that where things were, the word spirit was a challenge for me to speak. I couldn't speak the word spirit. Like I just, it was for years. And then gradually it came to me. And anyway, gradually it came to me. And when I came here to Annapolis, I gradually started saying the word spirit with more confidence in spirituality. But so when I went to the naturalization ceremony, my very first one, because I traveled um Georgia, where I woke. I was in Kennesaw, Georgia, when I had the dream, because I spent most of my life in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. I was like, it was Kennesaw. I remember the apartments, and in Georgia. I woke there, and then I moved from there. This was in between 2010 and 2011. I moved from Georgia, which I spent most of my life there. Um, since I was about 9 or 10, since about I guess about 10 years old. I think it was 10 or 11 years old. I moved to Atlanta, Georgia. I moved back to North Carolina because I was born in North Carolina for in 2013, and then I traveled from North Carolina to New York for the first time in 2015, and I had completed the courses with Moorish American National Public. I remember anyway. I don't want to go there. Anyway, in that I was naturalized by the National Grand Sheik, Joel Arrington-Bey. But I didn't attend the ceremony. Then I traveled from New York to Maryland. And here I was able to attend the ceremony. And with Imani with me, Imani Gray Bay, my son, we both took the classes. If Abbas was there, he would have taken the classes with me as well, but he was not there. I sent them to New York to be with his father, not knowing what we were among. I had no idea. I had no idea. If I would have known, he would not have never went. I would never sent them, but I didn't know. But once again, um, I think the travel. I think I just don't know anymore. But I'm just gonna move forward from that thought and move to the next one because it's important for me to do that at this point to get what I'm trying to say out in humility, spirit, and noble duality to articulate my thoughts. And then at the naturalization ceremony, this Moor came and he sung Allah in a way that all I could do was cry and cry and cry and cry. I had a tissue. It was couldn't hold the tears back. I don't know if anybody else was crying, but I was crying because I traveled, I guess, the hearing how it was just beautiful, giving praise to the Most High. So as time went on, me embracing spirituality and being able to say spirit, I realized Allah, and also getting back to the first key of me picking up keys to put it in my golden bag, which I said in the previous videos today. I think it was in the first video. It's June the 24th, 2026. I learned from Dr. Lean and Kadir El Bey, Allah, he taught that Allah represents the body. I think he said, how do you say? He said arm, leg, A, two A's, and the head, the body. Okay, and that was a key that I picked up there. And then with uh, Selena and Asir, they spoke of the energy fields of the body with the acronyms of Islam: I dot S dot L dot A dot M. I know what they mean. I just not saying it right now. I know what they mean, but the as in the word, but to go from word, because um of each acronym and word, what it means in reference to representing the chakra, the energy fields of the body connecting to the cosmos. I would have to read from my notes. So that was another key I picked up, um, and I put it in my golden bag. Um, so I traveled from Atlanta to North Carolina, and um, then so that so after realizing, then later, being here, learning more spiritual aspects of life, I started to connect Allah as not just a masculine energy, or that definitely learning not to pray outside of myself to something, that Allah is me within. And not only that, I remember when I first changed, when my consciousness first changed, I really was connected to the divine goddesses or goddess, those that we that existed and people knew of in ancient times. So I started to see, connect to a divine feminine energy inside of me, a energy that was not a spirit, a being, a a energy, a spirit that's feminine, that is not necessarily, it's not female and male. It is a energy field that exists, that I see and felt, um, when I look at the elements, the plants. When I think of air and wind and other um, um, energies that exist. And I realized that Allah is also this too, or a part of that. And there's different energy fields within my field, my body, that makes up me as a man. It's not, I'm not just this. I'm not just that. I am a complex being that's able to demonstrate a frequency that is high, that is and was and has always been connected to Earth and the universe, that is Earth, the celestial or Earth, and the universe, the cosmos. That's why I can never be what that would say Muslim, because their practices is not the same as what I know I am. Me saying I'm Muslim is not truth in that manner. In the science that I know in truth who I am. And that's the same with Imani Gray Bay. Um, I'm gonna just that was a nice moment of memory because that was a nice moment of memory of me remembering um the first naturalization ceremony. Okay, so now Spirit of Noble Joy Lee, I'm gonna now demonstrate in humility what I learned, what gets people, because okay, what gets people, I'll finish this thought. Excuse me one moment, hold on, I'm being forced to engage, one moment, because I belched, and then usually that happens is to because I'm being forced to engage, hold on. Excuse me again. um so right. So what gets people back into the constitutional fold would be the oath of amnesty and reconstruction. In this, President Abraham Lincoln says you must take this oath or affirm to do so. It says, I do solemnly swear, or you can affirm, in presence, which more is affirm, in presence of Almighty God, that I will henceforth faithfully support, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Union of the Constitution thereof, and that I will, in like manner, abide by and faithfully support all acts of Congress passed during the existing rebellion. Okay, we are among a rebellion with reference to slaves. So when when humans are being transformed to have very little of their self, the original being of that human to exist, and they are being used to harm as a weapon or other form of slavery, bondage, their mind, whatever. They are not able to say I'm a prisoner of war. They are literally being used as a slave. They are have become accepted the term slave, especially if they allow someone to say, I paid for you. I paid, and I have the right to rape, molest, and breed you. All acts of Congress passed during the existing rebellion in reference to slaves, so long and so far as not repealed, modified, or held void by Congress, or by decisions of the Supreme Court, and that I will, in like manner, abide by and faithfully support all proclamations of the President made during the existing rebellion having reference to slaves, so long, so far as not manifested or declared void by the decision of the Supreme Court, so help me God. Okay, I can tell you, there has been so many times in reference to being among those who are outside of natural law, because this is all connected to natural law. And actually, let me slow down because I know now I'm being forced to engage. This is a pale skin um, filth that's outside of natural law. It's a female, and she's not naturalized. She's probably calling herself white. White is not recognized in constitutional law. That term white is not recognized. This is why when those that come over here, immigrants, they don't say I'm white. Okay? They're not going to come to the United States government that has some form of legitimacy, because they removed the 13th Amendment 20 section, and say I'm white. I I naturalize. I take an oath. I'm white. They don't do that. In fact, we as Moors were taught that this landmass is the only place where the term white was being used. Okay, and it started. What I remember and learned through history, learning from Moors, and I'm just in humility. I'm saying these things because it's been a while, not but since I reread, was in 1700s when that which is pale skin start using the term white instead of saying where they came from, where they were Italian, saying from Italy, if they were Russian, from Russia, wherever they could demonstrate where their forefathers came from, where they were immigrating from, they just said I'm white. It's just so demonstrating the importance of claiming a nationality. So white is not a nationality, just like black African American is not a nationality. And I definitely see how there's a rebellion in that manner that has been continuously happening. So me and Imani being here in a military city where the United States military is supposed to have a firm or taken an oath to uphold laws of freedom and be protectorates of those who have reclaimed their actual freedom or trying to reclaim their actual freedom. If they're not naturalized, then they are in rebellion. They are in rebellion against constitutional laws. This is the connection to why I experienced in Imani molestation. Why that which is outside of natural law or constitutional law, organic constitutional law, that keeps saying military or veterans, are boldly walking around demonstrating a form of violence, mentally, physically, in the federal government that's unnaturalized, mentally, physically, and spiritually, because they are in rebellion against the organic constitution of 1787. They are in rebellion against of natural laws of the cosmos and the universe. This is why they behave the way they do. This is why pale skins are saying, "We got it, we got it," you know, in here, and then I got your son, we got your son, knowing a lot of them have the telepathic code, and they're probably force engaging with Imani, manipulating thoughts and minds. This is why the black Negro here, African American, which is again another term that's not recognized by the Constitution, that is not a nationality. Why is force engaging or stalking Imani and me and Imani in this apartment, in the hotel, and so forth. But they say Freemason. They say three. That is not recognized in constitutional law. That is a rule, a demonic curse that's been implemented to replace organic constitutional laws. I've heard them say, and we have it all here. You can be whatever you want, implying that whatever you want to do, you can do it here. So you can say you white. You say you white and be a Freemason, knowing you outside of constitutional law. And then if you want to molest, well, it's a rule. You want to rape? It's a rule. This is the connection to hearing them say, "We paid. I paid." If you in constitutional law, natural law, you don't pay for no one. You can't pay for something that's the energy field that's free and is and was and has always been free. Because that's the spirit and the energy field that is here and has always been here. That finite energy of bondage will end. It's connected to the lower self. That finite energy that would change and be completely changed over to something that's infinite, that represents this, that is the spirits of freedom. Freemason, three, whatever else they have created that's outside of natural law is finite. That's why when you hear, I think when I say these things, such as it's been prophesied that they will be destroyed, it's because it is truth. I'm in a divine spirit of truth. Because in the frequencies of natural law, that's where truth resides in. Truth is infinite. Finite things will change. It's an energy field that must and will and shall change. AI was not always here. It is a finite creation and it will change. And this is the connection I get. I say this, and I'm not saying this in a strong voice towards you, Spirit of Noble Jolie. It's just my spirit. So this is the connection I connect. This is connecting when you say in your prophecy, Moors that are wicked will fall for the last time because of the lower self. So if Moors will fall for the last time, either some will have ascended and made it through, and or this is it. Something has changed where AI and this energy field would not exist. That's unclean and outside of natural law again, and will not exist. There will be a change of that which has always been, and it will take completely over the earth and the universe, the cosmic universe. So I said this not because I'm not focusing on just immigrants. If an immigrant comes over here and the government within that or that landmass teaches them lies and goes against what the foundation of law is supposed to be on the landmass, why would the immigrant come over here respect anything that government has to say or the people on the landmass? If the government, the corporation, the invader is the one taking over, teaching the immigrant to come over here and implement bondage, something that's finite, that's dealing with lies, deceit, rape, molestation, abusing the telepathic code and other sciences. Why would the immigrant respect anything that's going on over here? If they come over here, they going through this naturalization process. A lot of them might have to learn more of the Constitution than the Black, Negro, or African Americans, unless those that are in law. And they realize we had to go through all this to come over here. And I know this is an immigrant. I'm thinking an immigrant thought process because I was around immigrants for a while from Africa, so I know some of the thought process of immigrants. And I am not offended if they think this way, because I was privileged to be exposed to both worlds. I was privileged to be under the status. When I say privileged, that means I'm able to um, see both sides, and I'm able to see and connect dots. So that's what I'm saying. So if I and I'm not, and so not to like, so that anyway, get to the immigrant. So the immigrant comes over here, that he or she or it comes over here and see that those that are already here, that have been here, that's in the government, the military, are true weapons. And not only are they weapons and into forms of harm, deceit, and lies beyond thoughts, they telling them and teach them to be that exact same way in order for them to stay and navigate on this landmass. So if the immigrant already, he, she, or it already is within that nature to cause harm and implement bondage and slavery, that which is the United States military, that's unnaturalized, Navy and Army, just have created that. They have just picked up more soldiers, more soldiers in their war against, and their war in the rebellion against the true organic constitution. So the immigrant comes over here and see how the military, United States government, the federal government, sending forth sharp pains or allowing for sharp pains to be taking place upon the humans or the indigenous that's already here, or those that have, or part human, 3/4 human, whatever. They see how they can make money and do the same thing, because that's what the military, the government is taught them to do, so that they can go to the hospital and be recycled in the medical system, never truly obtaining a form of freedom, which is health, which is freedom, which is spoke about in the preamble of the Organic Constitution of 1787. It says, in the Organic Constitution of 1787, in the Organic Constitution of 1787, it says, "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, and do ordain and establish the Constitution for the United States of America." If you come to a city like Annapolis and you are trained by the United States military to be more of a weapon, to send forth sharp pains and meant to enter the mind, manipulate the mind as an immigrant. You are being trained as a soldier in the rebellion that the United States military, that's unnaturalized, is in. So since I came here in Annapolis, I started to document and give testimony of being experiencing four sharp pains. I never experienced such things before like this. Especially when the black, Negro, female, and male would be saying brother, or while I was trying to maintain employment at Burger King and Whole Foods. So it was like a ritual was being done. But but being among those who are in rebellion against the organic Constitution of 1787, this is what they do. Then I started to experience my dreams being manipulated. So the United States government, that's unnaturalized, the federal government unnaturalized, the military, Navy and Army unnaturalized, was using sciences to manipulate my dreams and then try to have sex, a form of sex with me in my dreams. Because after the first manipulation, the black Negro female, which was done by a black Negro, was going around looking at me saying he effed her. He effed her. And then, or just say it out loud. And then after I was still staying and upholding who I was in truth as Sheik Dwayne Bey's wife, and upholding that the behavior, the process of obligation and blood consummation in the sacred grove with Sheik Dwayne Bey. I've been celibate physically since 2010. The consummation Sheik Dwayne Bey and I did was in the sacred grove. He was the first and only willingly. Now, any trickery that possibly could have happened, that is once again a form of rebellion against the organic Constitution and against natural law. That is not a thought of what's the word? It's okay. This is a rule. It happened. So now we are going to continue to demonstrate why we can continue to follow this more. If a devil or non-human invades the mind under an impersonate or do any form of abuse to a natural celestial being that's in constitutional law, and or just period not knowing, that is a form of terrorism or harassment or crimes against humanity. They are demonstrating they are in rebellion against what the preamble demonstrates and what the Constitution is, and what is and was and has always been, which is natural law. This is more than just the physical plane, the Constitution law. It is spiritual. It is mental. So me coming here to Annapolis, I started to experience the black Negro constantly trying to have sex with me. And the black Negro female saying brother over and over again like they doing now, like they do here in the apartment. And when I continued to uphold, and I was hearing them say military, the black Negroes that seemed to be representing the military, the veterans, were behaving, some would say, unlawful or abusive to be trained in a manner that, because the military has been trained to kill. They've been trained to learn behavior of the mind, learn the mind. They've been trained as weapons, supposedly to defend the organic Constitution of 1787 and protect um, those who are reclaiming their actual freedom. The people, the indigenous here, the people here, the not. So if they are, hold on one moment. There's some a black male is talking next door. It just started maybe a minute and a half ago, saying y'all need to go. I've seen it when I'm outside sunbathing. I looked up and I saw a black Negro male just looking at me as I sunbathe. So let me continue. So they do not behave. They demonstrated behavior that some would say abusive, especially with the training that they have in reference to supposedly the enemies of freedom. So I started to sleep light. I had to sleep light. If I didn't sleep light, because I was upholding what I experienced in the sacred grove with Sheikh Dwayne Bey. Willingly. Willingly, I was with him. So I had to sleep light because when I slept hard, the black Negro males would take that as an opportunity to try to penetrate if they could and have sex with me if I slept too hard. And they kept saying military, and it's more so in the hotel room. I've heard it sometimes here too, but not like I was hearing it all so not all, but a lot. I was surprised. I even told the owner, not the owner, but the manager of the hotel room. I started to write complaints. I mean, they would be outside the window of my hotel room with the Navy shirt on, saying, acting like they, like now and then I would start hearing a frequency in the hotel room, an accent, a black male. They would start actually demonstrating, they're communicating, male with the Navy shirt on, black Negro, communicating with the male accent in the hotel, in my room. Because what I was doing is blocking the energy, blocking the accent, the tone. So to engage more or force engage, a black Negro male would be outside my room with the word Navy on his shirt and then a black Negro with the telepathic code that was able to project using the science, okay, would start talking, saying brother, whatever. He loves, I love you, or whatever. And it would start communicating. It would start answering back and forth with that to engage. Then they start saying, we're going to follow her wherever she goes. Then a black female starts saying, I love your son. Then shortly after, when I started documenting that which speaks Spanish, then I would come to realize they too was connected to the government. The United States government is unnaturalized. Started to force engage and also tried to have sex with me in my dreams, or just invade the sheath while I was awake and start like showing itself jacking off. then the black Negro males and females was out. If I saw a car of them driving by, that immigrants that lived from South Central America, Mexico, they would be like, that's the bird people. As I was, especially when I would see feathers on my way to and from employment or just walking. So how is it in a city where the military is prevalent, Navy and Army and other military branches, and and definitely some have the telepathic code? How is it that something could harass in such a manner, especially putting feathers on the path of a naturalized more on a naturalized